Professor, always great to speak to you. Ownership of resources and of land has been contentious in many African countries in the wake of colonialism, and it's almost as if they've been denied ownership of their own history, with these objects residing still in foreign countries. So what's the significance of returning these historical objects in terms of national identity?
I think, well, first, it's a matter of natural justice, that if you take something from somebody without their permission, if you are a very good person, God-fearing person, then you have got to do the right thing by returning, those, things. Following from a discussion between the president of Benin and Reisa, the minister of, culture in France, they are already talking about improving kind of relations, having more mutual discussions around cultural issues. It is hoped that this return will open up a very new dialogue around the issues of cultures and the issues of art.
Why do you think it's taken France so long to make this return?
I think in 2017, the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, promised that he was going to bring up the pieces, but he had an opposition within his own country and within his own government. Some of the senators, particularly the right-wing senators, wanted to make so many changes in the legislation because they cannot just return these pieces because they are legislated for. Therefore, there has got to be a legislation that allows them to do so. So I believe that the French president met with some opposition from some of the backbench politicians in his cabinet or in his country.
Restitution is quite a contentious issue, and there's many arguments for and against it. What do you think in a case like this? Is returning artifacts enough, or does a country need to make more practical investments in preservation of indigenous culture and history?
All the issue of colonialism brings back the issues. There are already people discussing the issues of repatriation, the issues of returning of stolen goods. And colonialism was, of course, to eradicate the cultures of the people, the arts of the people, their religions, our sense of who we are. Currently, I have a virtual exhibition called Azibuyele Emasisweni, Return to the Source, which links to the issue of bringing these pieces back for us to look at how we used to make our art centuries ago, from now, so that the younger people might be able to pick up that interrupted tradition of art making. Because here we're not talking also just of art as Westerners understand art. Some of the art, like you call the minkisis, they were medicinal plants, they were psychological plants, they were spiritual plants that reinforced and made people strong and proud of themselves. Those were some of the first that were taken away in order to break the resistance and the backs of the people who wouldn't tolerate existing in a colonial situation.
Do you think after this we can expect to see more widespread negotiations with former colonizers about return of valuable artifacts, art, as you say, taken from countries that were colonized, to engage in more meaningful dialogue? Because I think dialogue up to this point has been probably dominated by the Western perspective.
Yeah, I mean, there would be, because I know that about 4 or 5 years ago, we had a meeting of many of African artists from all over the countries, meeting at the offices in Addis Ababa. One of the issues that we talked about was the issue of repatriation, of our works. Now, they are in one museum alone in France. It has got 70,000 African artworks. But what they are talking about now is the return of 26 artworks to Benin as well as to Senegal. So until and unless African governments, African artists, African thinkers and intellectuals, everybody up in it push up to say it is possible to have our pieces back. Therefore, we need to start a worldwide, movement, to do so. That is why some of the Africans who are abroad will go over and steal African artworks from the museums in order to draw attention to the theft that has taken, the theft that affected us and our artworks.
Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us. Certainly a positive move, and we hope to see the return of more artifacts in the wake of this return from France to both Benin and Senegal. That was historian Professor Pitika Ntuli.